And here is your NBA sports betting podcast for Wednesday, February 25th. I'm Joe Duffy, CEO of OffshoreInsiders.com, www.offshoreinsiders.com. All right, folks, Joe Duffy's picks off another sweet night. Last night, we've got 10 winners for Wednesday, February 25th, led by two wise guy plays. We have sides and totals galore. The final report was updated at 11:16 a.m. A sweet 139-97 in basketball, 58.7% winners off of a 4-1 night last night. You ain't seen nothing yet, folks. Joe Duffy's picks, the anchor of OffshoreInsiders.com, the industry standard since 1988. All right, now let's take a look at some news and notes, and if you're a fantasy basketball player, you're going to love this stuff as well. But Miami and Orlando, Miami, without Chris Bosh, of course, they're 5-4-1 without him going over 6-4. All records we quote are ATS unless we specify over-unders. Bosh, 44 games, 21.1 points, 7 rebounds. The Magic are 1-16 going back to November 30th of 2012 when playing the last game of at least a 3-game homestand. New York and Boston, the Knicks, Carmelo Anthony is out. The Knicks are 2-6-1 without him going under 5-4. Boston's Jared Sullinger is out. Boston is 1-2 without him going over all 3. Sullinger in 51 games, averaging 14.4 points, 8.1 rebounds. Now, Boston is 2-8 as a home favorite with at least 1 day's rest after playing on the road when they're off of a game in which they scored at least 15 points more in the first half than they did in the second half. However, Knicks are 0-11 with at least 1 day rest after a game in which they shot less than 40% from the field. But you know what, folks, what I'm going to do, the Knicks, we still believe, and, the Knicks should be able to adjust without Carmelo Anthony. We do believe that the so-called Ewing theory does apply here. When a team loses their overrated superstar, they tend to be a good play without him. So far, admittedly, the Ewing theory hasn't come in all that well, but again, the Knicks certainly had to adjust without him and without Anthony, and with the Knicks playing not all that well. They are now reaching a point where they're just getting too many points. So we're still going to go with a nice percentage play there on the Knicks. Dallas and Atlanta. For Dallas, Chandler Parsons out. They're 3-1 with him going under all 4. One of these guys who can sneak under the radar a little bit, averaging 15.4 points per game, 4.8 rebounds, 2.4 assists. Bigger story, though, Atlanta, Jeff Teague, he's listed as questionable. Hawks are 3-0 minus him under at a 2-1 rate. Averages 16.8 points per game, 1.7 steals, 7.3 assists. Washington and Minnesota. For Washington, Bradley Beal is out. They're 7-8 without him, but they've dropped 3 straight, going over at an 8-6-1 rate. Beal, another one of those guys, could sneak under the radar a little bit. Averages 15 points per game, 3.8 rebounds, 3 assists. Wizards are 17-2-1 as an underdog after a loss in which they scored at least 18 fast break points. And they're 20-4 on the road after a game in which they allowed at least 50% shooting from the field. Brooklyn and New Orleans. For New Orleans, of course, Anthony Davis is out. They've gone over 4 in a row without him, covering 2 straight to actually go 3-3 on the year without him. Davis, of course, the eyebrow, is one of the best players in the league. 23.9 points per game, 10.3 rebounds, 2.7 blocks. Philadelphia and Milwaukee. Some people might call this an intangible. Milwaukee point guard Michael Carter-Williams expected to make his debut against his former team. Remember, Carter-Williams was traded at the trade deadline, but he has been injured. Milwaukee has gone under all 3 since making that trade. And Philadelphia, that was 15-7-2 since losing Troy Roten. You know, we're also going to go with Philadelphia as a free pick. With Carter-Williams in the lineup, it's a one step back to take a couple steps forward. It's going to be his first game with his new team. There should be a little bit of chemistry problems. We said Philadelphia sort of sneaking under the radar. They're a very bad team, but sometimes you got to win ugly, and the Sixers have really gotten that to a science and a myth. A lot of people are going to think, well, the Sixers are so bad, they've tanked it. Sure, their management has tanked it. Their players have not. They've got players fighting for their careers. Philadelphia will be plenty motivated, and they don't want to be shown up by their former teammate. Philadelphia sneaks in the number. Philadelphia is a free pick as well. Clippers in Houston. Clippers' Blake Griffin is out. They've actually covered 4 of 5 since he's been hurt, going over 4-2. His averages 22.5 points per game, 7 rebounds, 5.1 assists. Houston, though, Dwight Howard is out, 32 games, 16.3 points per game, 11 rebounds. Charlotte and Chicago. Charlotte without Kemba Walker. They've gone under 8-2 without Walker, losing 3 straight. Darn good player, 42 games, 18.8 points, 3.8 rebounds, 5.2 assists. Bulls without Derrick Rose. He's now going for the year. They're 3-8 without him this year. He averages 18.4 points per game, 3.1 rebounds, 5 assists. Chicago is 16-1, though, after a double-digit win at home in which they shot less than 40% from the field. Remember, Joe Duffy's picks with a freight train of a card for tonight. One of the strongest portfolios of the entire year. 10 winners, 2 wise guy plays. Joe Duffy's picks at offshoreinsiders.com. Lakers in Utah. Lakers 12-0-1 when seeking revenge for a loss in which fewer than 40% of their baskets were assisted. Memphis and Sacramento, the Kings without Darren Collison, 45 games, 16.1 points per game, 5.6 assists. San Antonio and Portland. LaMarcus Aldridge is probable, and he's a key player to say the least. Spurs are 15-1 going back to 2009 with a maximum of 1-day rest in which 3 or fewer players scored 10 or more points, and a loss is a favorite. Trailblazers are 4-19, though, after a game in which their opponents stole at least 12 times. Master Lockline, the Power 620 sports services behind each and every play is red hot. Stevie Vincent, maybe even hotter. You want to get the bet at Trinity at offshoreinsiders.com. Check it out. Oh, and by the way, support us. If you play fantasy basketball, go to offshoreinsiders.com. Click on that fantasy basketball and sportsbook link from the top of the page. If you click on that and sign up, it will show your support for the show. That is one way to show support. Even if you don't want to buy our picks, which, hey, look, if you don't buy our picks and you bet on your own, you're keeping the books in business for us, so you're really helping us out either way. But if you don't want to buy our picks, please click on one of those links, and, there's good sports books there and fantasy sites, etc., etc. That will help support the show. Offshoreinsiders.com. Click on the sportsbook and fantasy link at the top of the page.